everybody. My next guest has been a staple in the punk rock scene for over 30 years and has rocked out all over New York City and Long Island with bands such as Rat Bastard and Eggplant Queens. His latest album, Dave Jemmott Loves You, is out now and available wherever you buy music. Here he is, folks, the one and only Dave Jemmott. Dave, what's up, man?
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, this is great to have you on here, man. And because you kind of were a real staple of the kind of 90s punk rock scene into the 2000s punk scene. You've been kind of in the game for a long time,
Yeah,
huh?
for quite some time. Yeah, starting with Rat Bastard, I guess around 94 is when we started doing stuff. And I was with those guys for 6 years. Mostly did Long Island stuff with Rat Bastard. But then it really exploded in 2000 when I joined Eggplant Queens. And then we played CBGB's every other month. We played at the Continental in New York City 3 times a month. And then Rat Bastard, we put out a couple cassettes. That's how long ago that was.
Right.
And then Eggplant Queens, we actually put out CDs. And we would play in Philadelphia and we play in other areas and stuff like that. So,
Dude, I was listening to some of the Eggplant Queen stuff, man. That was a pretty awesome group. Like the sound, the vibe. You guys had all different genres kind of blending in there. You had there's some songs where you guys were rapping on it and kind of screamo and hardcore and punk rock.
right.
3 frontmen, pretty much. It was just an amazing group. How did that? Take me through the Eggplant Queen ride,
Right.
man, because that's a pretty awesome band.
So Rat Bastard had a few stages, a few different lineups. And then after a while, we just decided that we couldn't go any further. At the same time, my friend Matt, this kid, Matt Bianco, who had never really been in a band, said he wanted to make a super group with all people from Belmore, because all the bands were from Belmore. So he asked me to be in the band with him as one of the singers. He wanted to be a singer. And then another good friend of ours, this guy, Mike Walsh, who has a voice like this.
Yeah.
He was going to be a singer too. So I said, wait, you're going to have a band with 3 singers? He goes, yeah, I got like the fucking Beastie Boys. He goes, well, we're not going to rap. But maybe we will rap, but we're not going to rap. And then we just got together with guys that we know. The guitar player, Bobby, I met him in 7th grade. The drummer of Eggplant Queens was the drummer from Rat Bastard. And we needed a bass player and we needed a rehearsal studio. So our friend Steve had a studio and played drums. And I said, would you like to play bass? And Steve joined the band as a bass player. And we got to use his studio to hang out and practice and stuff.
That's awesome. Out of necessity. Yeah, that's so great. And like I said, I was watching some of the stuff like that Belmore Unseen doc and stuff like that. And you get a real good take on Eggplant Queens and some almost there was one video where you guys were recording a song. I don't know what the name. It was the money, and it talked about Girl Scout cookies and
Thin Mint. It was called Thin Mint.
Thin Mint.
Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
That never made it. That never made it past. It never finally happened. But that was the money, man. We got them on you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just chilling with the boys, hanging out and we're making some noise. Sounds like put you to your ears, you know that you are the cool dude.
And dude, the chemistry you guys had, you're just lounging, just sitting there, just money, and it was effortless. And that dude's fucking going crazy, screaming and rapping and it was the smashing drums and the hooks. It had everything, dude. I was I was a fan of that song in particular. That song rocked, dude. With Eggplant Queens, did you ever have A&R love? Were the A&Rs coming at you guys, or what was going on?
We had a manager who used to take care of everything for us, but actually didn't take care of everything for us. So we didn't really get A&R interest, but we would get offered gigs in other places and offered to possibly go do small tours and stuff. And we had 6 or 7 guys in the band, depending at the time. And logistically, some of my guitar player is an attorney
Right.
at the time. The rest of us all derelicts. just lunatics. Like, I always bartended, so I bartended at night. Mike was a bouncer,
Right.
Matt was doing construction and stuff. So like we all had flexible schedules except for like the guitar player. So he was always like, no, we can't. And he was like, I'm doing this for fun. I'm not doing this. I have a career. Like I can't commit to anything more. And that's what happened with Rat Bastard too. Rat Bastard actually had people interested in us and wanted to help us out a little bit. And the guys in the band were like, I don't want that. They're like, I just want to play locally. I don't want to go on tour. I don't want to,
Right.
And I always stuck with them. And I felt like it was a missed opportunity for me because I wanted to go on tour.
Dude, yeah. And you, as a frontman, you have a presence on stage that you can't help, even with three frontmen and Eggplant Queens, and even with the stuff, all the stuff you do, where the eye goes to you. You know what I'm saying? You're a natural frontman, and yeah, you must look back and go, damn, man, like
a missed opportunity,
But it's not too late. The world ain't, but looking back on those days when you were riding that wave, and especially on Long Island, when a lot was popping off at that time period, which was like in the 90s, right? So that you guys were like right before the emo, like Taking Back Sunday, and
that was right after us. Like we were friends with like the guys from like VOD, like we knew Vision of Disorder.
Right, yeah.
As a matter of fact, Brendan, the drummer of VOD, and I were on a Belmore compilation Christmas CD where we do Father Christmas by the Kinks, because like all the bands were friends with each other,
Right, yeah.
And like I remember like Brendan dropped off the VOD cassette in my mailbox before they broke. And like it was like and I was like, what the hell is this? Next thing you know, they're touring the world, and like they still get together now and reunion shows and have, thousands of fans,
Yeah, man. Because that scene, man, like, especially, like, you guys were bubbling it up, and you guys kind of set the stage for Taking Back Sunday and guys like that. But, I talked to, like, Ed Reyes of, Taking Back, and he was big on the hardcore scene back in the day. He's more like, he's closer to our age. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 53.
I'm 56.
Yeah, so we kind of came up through the same time period. I used to write for Good Times Magazine and, like, Circus Magazine and AMP and a couple of those back in those days, too. So it was cool to see the scene, the Long Island scene, like no other, especially the kind of the underground hardcore punk rock stuff.
Good Times used to give us press once in a while. They would put us in articles and stuff there once in a while. Good Times always supported us, give us support for both bands, for Rat Bastard and Eggplant Queens.
Yeah, man. Good Times was kind of always ahead of the curve, especially back then, and really had the pulse of the scene going on. Mm-hmm. And you guys had a lot cooking in Belmore for sure. And like, these bands are legendary, like both Rat Bastard, Eggplant Queens, and you were obviously the face of both of those bands in a big way. It's one of those things, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, when you think about the guitar player with the family, and you're like, dude, like.
It's so crazy because like I bartend now, like I've bartended forever, and still like I work in like in high volume venues and stuff, and people every once in a while will come up and be like, hey, let me get a Heineken. Hey man, are you Huevos Rancheros from Eggplant Queens? Like, are you Dave Man from Rat Bastard? And I'm like, yes, I am. And then they'll turn to their girlfriend and be like, this motherfucker, you should have seen his band sing,
Yeah, man.
Like I still get recognized for that, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, and much deserved, bro. But you've been, even I think it was before the bands, you were already making headway. Phil Donahue with Marilyn Manson talking about.
If you're going to jump off a stage, you can only expect to get hurt. We try and discourage people from even coming on the stage, because that's my place of business. If you come where I'm doing my business, then you should plan on doing business, or you're going to get hurt.
Like you're sitting there with Marilyn Manson. Early in Marilyn, I don't even think Marilyn Manson was a household name.
It was before Antichrist. It was Smells Like Children just came out, like all that.
Right.
Yeah, I broke my back at a concert, stage diving, and I got better. I used to work at a radio station, and a buddy of mine at the radio station was now working for Geraldo. And Geraldo had a show called Now It Can Be Told, and the secrets of moshing and stage diving. So he asked me if I wanted to be on, and they sent a film crew out to my chiropractor to talk about my broken back.
18-year-old Dave Man knows all about moshing. He's just spent 2 weeks in the hospital recovering from the second broken back he's received during a fun night of dancing.
I was at an EMF concert at Roseland. Was moshing, slam dancing, was riding the crowd. Everyone had me up on top. They passed me towards the stage, and the crowd just kind of shifted and flipped me over the barricade. I went feet first, but then I flipped my head over. Did about a 6-foot drop onto the back of my head and my neck, impacting my spine.
Once you're on one talk show, they all come knocking.
Right.
Then I did another one called a Closer Look with Faith Daniels, which was like on for like a year with Jimmy from the lead singer Murphy's Law was on the panel with me.
Oh, nice.
And it's so funny because I'm friends with him now through Eggplant Queens. And one time I was really high before an Eggplant Queens Murphy's Law show, and Jimmy from Murphy's Law goes, "Watch your back." And I was so high and paranoid, I thought he meant the skinheads were going to get me because I was wearing makeup and had long braids. But he was joking around about the talk show on my broken back.
Right.
Head, I went in a downward spiral. I'm like, what do you mean, watch my back? Who's coming to get me?
That's great.
And then after that, like a full 2 or 3 years later, Phil Donahue came knocking. And they're like, we're going to send a limo, pick you up. You'll be on the panel. That's all I knew. And then I get there and Manson's on the panel. And I knew of Manson, but
right.
he wasn't, I mean, now he's in all sorts of trouble and shit like that.
Right,
But this
yeah.
is right before the pinnacle of his fame when he was
before he took
youth.
off. Yeah.
And he was, first of all, he was so intelligent and on point. It was great. Phil Donahue was a real fucking douchebag, he was a dick.
Yeah.
I shouldn't talk about dead people, but he was a fucking dick. And they had this family of this mom and dad, their son got killed at a Life of Agony show, and they had them on for shock,
Right.
But the parents thought they were going to talk about how to prevent it, and it was just they were using the parents for the kid's death and stuff, and it pissed me off.
There's clubs on Long Island. This is Club Smashlight you can go to. You can hang out, have a good time. You don't have to get involved. If you want to get involved, you know what to expect when you get out there. If you have any fear of getting hurt, you wouldn't go out there in the first place. But you're not there to get hurt. You're there to have a good time.
I started running into Marilyn Manson in New York City right before Antichrist came out. I was at Roseland standing in the VIP section. It was 3 shows in a row. I think it was a Bjork concert, and I was standing there, and I looked behind me, and Manson's right behind me.
Oh wow!
He was
with Bjork concert.
He at a Bjork concert, and he was right behind me with Matt Pinfield from MTV.
Oh no shit! Yeah.
And I turn and look at him, and I go, "Hey, what's up, co-star?" And Manson's tall. He looks down at me. He goes, "Excuse me?" I go, "You're my co-star." He's like, "I don't know what you're saying to me." I go, "I was on Donahue with you. I'm the kid with the broken back." And he starts laughing. He shakes my hand. And that was it. I left him alone. About a week later, I'm at Roseland again. And it's I think it was KMFDM concert, and he's behind me, and we just looked at each other, we nodded, greeted, that was it. A week or a month, whatever later, Oasis were playing there. I'm in the same fucking spot. Manson's behind me, and I don't know he's behind me, and he whispers in my ear, he goes, "So I guess you're stalking me." And then I turned around and I go, "You approached me." And then that was my 3 times running into him. And he was always cool and nice and everything, which was really cool. And then Antichrist came out shortly after there, and they were huge.
Yeah, then they became superstars for but that's pretty cool. And then being on a show like that with Phil Donahue and being young as you were, and it seems like they ambushed the parents, like you said, of the wounded kid or the kid who died in the at the LOA show. What's your did you realize it then this is all just bullshit, or were you ahead of that?
In the moment, you could see my facial expression changing from the beginning of the show to the end. You could actually see the disgust in my eyes, that I actually just got silent.
Yeah.
Instead of saying shit. And there was another kid on the panel that was like, "It's better. Hey, moshing's better than drugs, man."
Yeah,
and I wanted to smack him upside his head, like, "What are you fucking talking about, asshole?"
right.
You know. And there was a couple times that in hindsight, when I watched the episode, I'm like, I should have interjected here. I should have called them out on the bullshit and gave my condolences to the parents of the kid that was killed,
Right.
because it was an ambush. It was a total ambush. The only one that handled it completely professionally was Manson. You couldn't throw a curveball at him. You know,
and he's so articulate too when he talks, and he's just like, so, you know, like, yes, of course, like, you don't expect
very
it from,
articulate. Like, and that, I think, annoyed Donahue.
Yeah,
because Donahue couldn't get him in a gotcha moment. You know,
right?
Which is the whole selling point of the show.
Right, Donnie, you wanted him to be like, yes, they're all evil, and you know,
right,
you know, like that, and he, you know, but you
wait. There was a sitcom on ABC a couple years ago called Schooled. It was, I guess, taking place in, I don't know when it was taking place. Like, I think it was supposed to take place like 10 years ago, and they showed a split second of the episode of Donahue on the ABC sitcom, and it was me. So I'm at work, I'm bartending, and all of a sudden my phone explodes. "I just saw you on ABC." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" "I just saw you on ABC." And it was literally like back in the day when they would wheel, the AV squad would wheel a TV into your classroom, right. And they wheel a TV in, and the teacher goes, "I'm going to show you what it was like back in my day." And they go and they show like a clip about moshing and me on the show.
That's crazy.
Then I came home and I went to ABC on demand and I saw it. I was like, "Oh my Lord."
If you think about because of shows, being on shows like that, you're kind of in the history when people do look back at like Sign of the Times. If they look back at the 90s punk rock era or mosh pit era, they'll see the people will reference that. And now we're seeing it on sitcoms like Schooled, and it might end up in documentaries, you know?
People still reach out to me through social media to get to Manson.
Really?
They'll Google my name and then they'll find me on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and they'll say, "I've been trying to get in touch with Manson. Can you forward this message to me?" And I can't. I can't. I haven't spoken to Manson since freaking Oasis concert 20 years ago.
That's crazy.
But I became friends with people who reached out to me who were not insane, that were nice, and we had mutual interests. And I ended up sending them Dave Jemmott stickers, and they ended up sending me care packages for kids in Wisconsin and Minnesota and California. I actually became internet friends with some of the people through this connection, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Now with the kind of mosh pits back in the day, because I remember the thing said that you continued moshing even after the broken back, and you would die hard into that. Is that true? We continued moshing?
Yeah. I literally slipped on the stage. That's what happened. I was on the edge of the stage and I slipped. I was at Roseland, and my feet, I slipped, so my head went, and I fell I guess the good 6 feet to the floor and hit the back of my neck, and broke T4 in my spine.
Damn, that's real injury there.
Oh,
that's
dude, I couldn't move. I was and I was like, "Fuck, it's over." And slowly, and security went to grab me, and another security guard saw that I was really hurt, and they pushed me under the stage. And slowly I could feel my toes and then my fingers, and then I was able to sit up, and they kept me there until the show was over. And then I left. And then my friends were all pissed off waiting for me out front because they had passes to some party or some shit. And I'm like, I got to go home. I don't feel well. I need someone to drive my car. And none of those knuckleheads knew how to drive a stick shift. So I had to drive my car.
With a broken back.
But I don't know. I just think I hurt myself. Bruised myself.
Right. So you didn't know. Nobody knew
it was broken.
So the band didn't stop. It wasn't like a scene.
No. I just there was so many people jumping and coming around that nobody on stage knew. I just was on the stage, then I wasn't.
Right.
Only security knew. Only security. Right. So I'm driving from Manhattan, and I'm like, I have to go to the hospital, but I want to cross into Nassau County to go to a hospital, but not in Manhattan. So as soon as I crossed over to Nassau, I went to St. Francis in Roslyn. I walked in. I said I hurt my back, and I still remember the X-ray check going like this. don't move. And I'm like, what? He's like, you broke your back. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, don't move. And they come over and they put me on a backboard and a neck brace and like a vice grip on my head and
Holy shit.
and all the shit. And they're like, if this was your spine, like you flattened it perfect, like a millimeter this way or that way, and you would have cut into your spinal cord. You flattened T4 or your vertebrae, whatever they said to me. You struck gold when you broke your back. He's like, but you have a broken back.
Wow.
So then I was in the hospital for a week. They were thinking about surgery and shit like that. And then they said maybe I should just rest and not do anything. So for like 6 months, I was out of work and I just like sat around till I could feel better.
Right.
And
this is before the internet, so you're just sitting bored, shitless, watching TV.
People gave me videotapes of like Twin Peaks. They taped like the whole season of Twin Peaks on tape.
Right.
So like I watched that, like, I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan because like I watched that a million times.
Right.
Sitting home watching Donahue before I even knew I was going to be on his show.
Right. Yeah.
And then and then I was better, and then I started going to shows again, and I was like, oh, fuck it, put me up, and then getting passed around again and stuff like that. And
dude, that's
my poor parents were like, what are you doing?
Every time you went out there scared.
When I was a kid, when I was 13 years old, I got jumped by two kids and they put fireworks in my pocket. And I got 3rd-degree burns, like from these fireworks. So like I came wobbling home one time. I opened the front door. My mom's making sauce, and she's like, "What's up? Like, what's that smell?" I'm like, "I'm burning." So, then fast forward a couple years later, my girlfriend calls them from the hospital. Hey, Mrs. Jemmott. It's like 2 a.m. Hey, Mrs. Jemmott. I'm in the hospital with David. He has a broken back. My parents are like, "What the fuck?" And then like a year later, I ruptured my liver. I was sleigh riding and I hit a tree.
Damn.
And I ruptured my liver. And like that same girlfriend called my parents. Hey, Mrs. Jemmott, it's me again. David's in the hospital, internally bleeding. They're rushing him into surgery. Like, so my poor parents. Anytime that phone rang at like some like ungodly hour, they were like, "What's up with Dave now?"
They have PTSD every time your girlfriend calls them. Like,
yeah, oh, exactly.
Yeah, dude. I been in a few mosh pits and writing for the magazines. I go to different types of shows, whether they're hardcore, regular kind of pop punk or metal. It feels like each genre has their own style of mosh pits, and some are more violent than others. Some of them actually, punching and kicking.
Arms, right.
Yeah. And, so what kind of pits were you like involved in with like, and do you know any of the pit etiquette?
Stuff I went to, it wasn't really like that frat boy, like what it literally like it started changing when like kids that weren't punk kids started coming to the shows because they now punk was popular.
Right.
And they didn't get it that you're really not supposed to go up and punch someone in the face. That's not how this works.
Right.
You just swing your arms, but like you're not like him, get him.
Right, exactly.
Like, frat boy type jock motherfuckers would show up and start doing like somebody fell, the whole crowd would pick the person up.
Right, that's how.
Now I'm seeing people getting stepped on.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
So when I was doing, I remember when we didn't even call it mosh, we called it slam dancing at Ramones concerts in '84 when I was like 15.
That's awesome. Yeah,
and like it was just literally just a circle, just going around, just a circle, and maybe getting passed around a little bit. But then like it really started changing with like the wall of death, where like they just plow right through you. You mind your own business, and like 8 guys with their arms length, they come running through and they kill everybody, and I'm like, what the fuck?
But there's nothing like that energy when you're in the pit, no matter what genre of music is. There's an energy, and I also think it's cathartic. I think there's something good about it for kids to get this aggression out of their systems, and almost you could say a positive way. I mean, Phil Donahue might disagree with that, but I think it's positive to get that aggression out. I think it is kind of cathartic in a way to just, and I've seen kids like one kid at one show I was at back in the day. It was a small show, like in a basement. I think it was Snapcase. You know that band Snapcase?
Yeah, I remember that name. Yeah.
Yeah. It was their show, and this kid busted his face up. He's bleeding, but his friend is like, "You earned that, man. You earned it." And it's that kind of camaraderie, man. And there is an etiquette in the pit, like you said. You help people up. It's not you're not out to hurt each other so much as to just get
One of the things that I was trying to get across on Donahue was that it's not, even though it looks violent, it's not really violent. It's just expression,
right.
And you're not there to hurt anyone. And one of the things, my missed opportunity about the parents whose kid died, I wanted to explain to them that their son didn't die from moshing. Their son died because of jock security guards beating him. That's how the kid died. They took him and slammed him down. It had nothing to do with the fans of the band or the people that were moshing. Their son was murdered by a fucking jock. And I didn't get that out on Donahue. Like that, like to this day, like I didn't articulate that.
Right.
But that's like, the jock attitude of these people that would show up as it grew and grew and grew,
Yeah, and that guy, that security guard, that jock security guard, got away with it because he just says, "Oh, look at these kids; they're violent. They did it to each other," and he never took responsibility.
Some of the venues I work in through the years, I met bouncers who I work with them, so I get along with them, but they'll tell me stories about beating kids up at shows, and I'm like, that's not cool. And he's like, yeah, my friend said, hey, you want to come work at the show? These assholes come over the barricade, you fucking knock them a couple times, you throw them back out. These idiots come back. And he was bragging to me about that. And I was like, you're the complete opposite of what I like.
Right,
like,
exactly.
You're not impressing me. I'm fucking hating you right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no glory in that. You're beating up a bunch of kids that are having fun, and you think it's funny because they keep coming back because they're resilient. I don't like. Again, I don't like bullies, and if you have a badge, even if it's a security guard at a show, you think you could. It gives you the right to push people around, and especially young kids that are just there to freaking rock out, man. I think that's messed up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still to this day, I haven't been in a mosh pit in a long time, probably since I was in my 30s, early 30s. But I still sometimes when I see a pit happening, if I'm at a show, I get the itch to jump into it. I won't because I know, I can't hang with those kids anymore.
It's so funny because like I'll be at shows and like I'll look into the pit and I'll see somebody our age and I'm like, no, dude. I'm like, those days have passed. Let the kids have fun. You don't belong out there.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be the old guy in the pit running around.
It's like the old joke, Chris Rock. You don't want to be the old guy at the club. You don't want to be the old guy in the pit.
Oh, that's crazy.
On a side note, so Bobby, who was my guitar player in Eggplant Queens, when we were teenagers, he was in a band called Justified Violence that used to play at CBGB's. Right. And the lead singer, Ron, who's a very good friend of mine, he owns Lone Wolf Tattoo, Ronnie Bianco.
Oh, nice.
He was the singer, and it was a Sunday matinee, probably 1984, probably 14 years old, 15 years old, and Ronnie jumps off the stage to do a stage dive into the crowd at CBGB's, and he parted the sea.
Oh!
And bam, he hit his head right on the floor. And right where he hit his head, there was a little nail.
Oh,
so it got him right here. And he got back on stage. He's all bloody and stuff. And the same thing, people are like, yeah, you earned it, man. And 56 years old, he still has the mark on his head where the nail was. Sometimes he grows like a little devil's lock that, like, to cover it up. And now it's like his hair's all pumped back and stuff, like a rockabilly haircut.
Yeah.
So I'm bartending at this place, The Warehouse in Amityville, about 2 years ago. And this guy starts coming in regular on Grateful Dead night, not even on a hardcore night or on a Grateful Dead night. The guy starts talking to me about music and he realizes I like punk rock. And he starts talking, oh, you're from Belmore, you know this guy, you know that guy. And he goes, hey, one time I was at CBGB's and this band from Belmore, Justified Violence, and the singer dove and we all got out of the way and he hit his head and a nail got him. I'm like, holy shit, you were there.
Like, that's great.
My friend Ronnie, who's like, his kids hang out with my kids and like he's over my house for like Super Bowl parties.
Yeah, that's
awesome. Got the mark on his head.
And it still lasted to this day. He still has that mark to this day. That's great. Yeah, man. And those were great days. Like you came up in a great era where punk rock was kind of already established and rocking out, and you caught probably, when did CBGB's closed down? Like that was that
Mid 2000s.
yeah. So
I saw the closing shows. Like I saw Bad Brains there, like the second to last. That was insane.
that's
Like I've been in
freaking awesome.
CBGBs 100 times. Like I've never been in a crowd where like like you literally like I couldn't move. Like
Right,
I was
yeah.
like, I'm like this is how I die. And it wasn't moshing or anything. It was just
squished in there.
You couldn't anything, And Bad Brains, they were so sick. They were so great.
Dude, those guys freaking rock.
You
know that whole DC scene.
Yeah,
too, the hardcore.
Well, that's
punk rock.
one of the things is like, and my friends always beat up on me for it and make fun of me. Is like I never really got into like a lot of the New York hardcore bands. Like as a kid, 13, 14, discovering punk rock.
Right, yeah.
I was into like the Dead Kennedys, the Circle Jerks, Suicidal Tendencies, like all
the
these
California
bands.
ones, yeah.
And like one of my friends in high school became the drummer of Agnostic Front. And they're
wow,
like, why is your allegiance to to like all these bands? And it just, to me, they were a little bit more melodic or something. There was something that in my head that triggered. Now I like some songs from Agnostic Front, and I'm friends with the guys from Murphy's Law through the years and stuff like that. But I always really liked Circle Jerks are one of my favorite bands, to this day,
right.
And it's so funny because my friends are like, "Oh, you fucking California pussy," Meanwhile, I'm from Long Island,
That's great. Yeah, man. Like all that stuff when I was growing up, it all resonated. But yeah, everybody wants to take sides all the time. But I was into those bands as well, and Black Flag and all those kind of bands from the hardcore scene that it was brewing up in on the West Coast over there. But yeah, man, what a time for hardcore too. With the Cro-Mags and Madball, and like you said,
like in the 70s. My brother's 10 years older than me, so he listened to the Beatles and Black Sabbath and the Who and stuff like that, and Blue Oyster Cult
right,
in the house. And then we had cousins that lived in Queens, and those cousins went to CBGBs, and like they exposed me to the Ramones when I was like 10.
Yeah.
And like I would bring 8-tracks into school for show and tell of the Ramones, sitting in a windowsill popping peanut barbadol, and my teacher's like, "Stop!" Everyone else is bringing in Michael Jackson, like Against the Wall or whatever, or the Grease soundtrack, and like I'm bringing in Ramones, like Beat on the Brat, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And then was the catalyst that like my cousins turned me on to them and the Runaways, and I really learned more about that. And in 10th grade in the art room at Mettam High School in Belmore, used to bring records in, and the art teacher would let you play it. And somebody left a record from the year before, and it was the Dead Kennedys, Plastic Surgery Disasters.
Oh, nice.
And now I already knew the song Holiday in Cambodia. I knew that song from the Dead Kennedys, so I knew who the band was.
Right.
And that song's not on this record. I took that record home. The teacher's like, "Oh, somebody left it. You could have it." I put the needle on that record, and my life was changed. And literally my life changed in that moment, and I was all in.
And you can hear a little bit of that kind of Dead Kennedy influence in some of your stuff. Especially.
People say the way that I dictate words or my cadence or something like that. They always say they feel a little bit of like Jello Biafra in there.
Yeah,
as well. Sure. I get that. I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, we all have influences, and it all kind of shines through us. And I think that is a huge compliment.
People would also say that I remind them of like John Lydon or Johnny Rotten a little bit too, like in certain stages. I mean, he's like a super like freaking conservative, like right wing now, which is what blows my mind. But I met John Lydon at an in-store. I was working at a radio station, and I had to work the in-store, and it was at Tower Records by NYU in the city. And like, whenever we did in-stores, I was supposed to be like in a t-shirt that said WDRE and a hat that said WDRE. And I never would. And my boss would get so pissed at me. But I was very good at my job that he would just let me do it. So I had to like be next to the table where the band was like signing shit and like giving them bumper stickers and shit like that. So I get there and I'm hanging out, and I recognize a roadie. from an EMF, that band, like, you're unbelievable.
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
a home video, and in the whole video is EMF doing practical jokes to this roadie. So I recognize him. He was now the roadie for Public Image Limited. So he's drinking a beer, and he goes, "Hey, come in the back, have a beer with me." He's real cockney. He's like, "Hey, come in the back and have a beer." So I go in the back to have a beer with him, and Public Image is there, and John Lydon just comes up and gets in on the conversation. He thinks I'm friends with the roadie.
Right, right.
So he was just the nicest, coolest fucking guy. Like, I met his wife. You know, they were telling me stories. He was so cool. Then we walk out from the background to where the people were for autographs. He became Johnny Rotten. Like, he literally flicked the switch, and somebody walked up and was like to sign like the CD, and Johnny Rotten goes, "Why don't you take it out of the plastic? First time getting a fucking autograph." You know, and I'm like, I'm dying. Like, it was amazing. It was very, very funny. And then we took a break after like an hour signing. It was like a ton of people there. We go in the back, and I'm drinking, and he was just super cool. And then at the end, when they were leaving, Johnny Rotten picked up a bottle of wine and a 6-pack, and he looked at me. He goes, "Do you like wine?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You take the wine, I'll take the beer." And he like walked out to the waiting car, and he gave me a bottle of wine.
That's cool. You still have it? You keep it?
It's in a box somewhere. I moved a million times, but like I wrote like the date on it and stuff, and I had it on my shelf for years and years. And then friends from the radio station were telling me, "What? Oh, Johnny Rotten, John Lydon was a fucking douchebag. He was a fucking," and they're all in their t-shirts. The radio station,
right?
Radio geek, you know, and all this shit. And he busted their chops, you know. Just the way that I met him, he was just a normal guy, you know. So it's like sometimes they say don't meet your idols or whatever. I met him in the perfect scenario, and he was super cool.
That is super cool. Yeah, and I think with him, like now, like with the conservative stuff, I think he just likes to go against the grain. He's just a punk to the end. He's just always going to go with
sticking it, right? You know, stirring the pot.
Yeah, exactly. You know? I'm surprised he doesn't wear a Trump hat. Like,
you know, some of my friends, you know, because people know I'm more left leaning. People will contact me and go, "What do you think of John? You don't like John Lydon anymore? You see him?" And I go, "You know, my dad's was a Trumpster. I love my dad."
Right?
Know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You're not gonna change, you know. Like I still like Public Image and the Sex Pistols. I don't care if he's what hat he's wearing.
Exactly, and you know, people with the Sex Pistols are saying that they were like, you know, contrived band. It was made up and like, you know, all these things. But I still love that band. I still think they gave punk rock what, you know, Ramones created punk rock. And it took off in CBGBs, but I really think that Sex Pistols gave it that attitude, whether they took it from Richard Hell or not. But I still think the style and the attitude that "fuck you" came from
just the image. And there's no love songs. It's all It's all punk. You know, it's all, you know, "God Save the Queen," Anick in the UK, or like a song like "Bodies," like talking about fucking abortion.
Yeah,
you know, it's great. That whole. Never mind the bollocks. It stands the test of time. It's such a great album, start to finish.
Dude, I mean, yeah, there's something about Lydon's voice too that there's something about it that gets me revved up with you know, just you know, "I am the Antichrist."
And like, and no one ever heard anything like that before, like coming right at you.
Yeah,
you know?
dude,
so cool.
That kind of aggression, and you know, I think they gave it a lot of elements that punk needed to really kind of fully cook.
I saw them in the 90s when they reunited and had Glenn Matlock back on bass at Roseland. I think I went both nights, and they were great. Like musically, they were great. Johnny Rotten was like snide and like saying shit to people, and you know, had a bottle of Cavassier in his hand. He's chugging it, you know, and you know, and they were so on. They were so great. And now like they're doing that thing, like what's the guy's name? Frank Carter is the singer
now.
The
new singer now, yeah.
You know, whatever. And Johnny Lydon's like, "It's karaoke, fuck them." You know, but I've seen some clips of it, and it's pretty good. And like just to see the musicianship of Paul Cook, Steve Jones, and Glenn Matlock, just to see them play is cool. Right. And then this guy Frank, he was in a band called Gallows. I saw Gallows a while ago, and they fucking killed it. Right, so like, yeah, it's not the Sex Pistols, and you need Johnny Rotten in the front, but to see Steve Jones play guitar live, Paul Cook on drum, like, you know, when they come through New York, I wouldn't be hesitant not to go. I might go. You know?
I'd want to see it, but you know, like you said, it's not the Pistols without Johnny. But I saw them in 2003. They did another reunion tour, and they were at Jones Beach, and I got to interview Johnny on. It was a phoner before the show, so I didn't meet him in person, but was on the phone. He was super cool. All he wanted was his respect of that he, you know, in his mind he created punk rock. You know, he just but it was super cool to talk to him. He was nice to me. Which I was shocked because you know, at that time was when he was getting like Kurt Loder tried to interview him. He just gets, I'm done with this, and he just gets up and walks out. So I was like, oh shit, what am I in store for? But he was super cool, and like to your point, they were great seeing them live, and at Jones Beach, and I was a little disappointed. Dropkick Murphys opened for them, which phenomenal. Those guys rock. But I was surprised that the place wasn't sold out at that time in 2003. It was like half full or whatever, but. That you know, I remember being like, "This is Sex Pistols, man. Where the heck? Everybody's missing out on this." You know,
I didn't go to the Jones Beach show, but a bunch of my friends did, and that's exactly what they said. They said they can't believe that not everyone's here. Like, why wouldn't you go see them? You know,
right? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
I saw the Dropkick Murphys open for when the Misfits first reunited a couple years ago with like Danzig back on the the vocals, and they played in Philly. So the Misfits reunite. I love the Misfits. They reunite. They do their first show at the Prudential Center in Jersey because that's where they're from.
Right.
I go. Murphy's Law is one of the opening acts. I'm standing in the general admission in the front, and Jimmy from Murphy's Law recognizes me, and he hands me a bottle of Jaeger from the stage. I fucking hate Jägermeister, but 1,000 people looking at me, so I grabbed that bottle of Jaeger and that death juice, and I handed it back to him like a pro. You know?
That's awesome.
And Suicidal Tendencies were also on that bill, and Harley from Cro-Mags was on that as well.
Oh, shit!
Then the Misfits play the Garden like a few months later, and Rancid and the Dam opened, and I come home, and my daughter was like 10 or 11 years old. She goes, "Dad, where were you?" I said, "I just saw the Misfits." She goes, "Why wouldn't you take me?" You don't know the Misfits. You're 10 years old, and she rattles off like 10 songs. And she goes, Astro Zombies is my favorite Misfit song. I'm like, how do you know this? She goes, because you play it in the house all the time. She goes, I would have gone. I go, they're playing in Philly in December. Let me talk to Mom, and maybe we'll do a daddy-daughter trip. So I took her to Philly at the Prudentials at the Wells Fargo, where the Misfits and the Flyers play and stuff like that. And before I went there, around Thanksgiving, I told my brother-in-law, I said, yeah, I'm thinking about taking Kelsey down to see the Misfits. And he goes, the Misfits? The bass players for the Misfits, Jerry Only, his son-in-law works for me.
Oh, no way.
He sells insurance at my company. I'm like, what? Let me talk to him and see if he can hook you up. So he goes to this guy and he says, you know, my brother-in-law wants to see the Misfits. He's going to Philly. Can you do anything? And he flat out says no. He goes, I don't like to put my father-in-law out. People ask me for stuff all the time. Yeah. I don't like doing that. And my brother-in-law says, well, you know, he's going to take his daughter. She's 10. And the guy went, oh, he's taking his kid? Give him my number. He wasn't like, he didn't want some fanboy, some 50-year-old fanboy.
Right. Hey, you sign these CDs, man.
Yeah, right. So I talked to him. He says, get to Philly. Don't buy tickets. Get to Philly. When you're outside the arena, call me. So I did. And he met us. We walk in. He slaps all access on me and Kelsey right into the Misfits dressing room. And I have this awesome picture of Kelsey sitting on Jerry Only's lap with his hair and everything like that. And he was so cool and so nice. And like, I met the family and stuff like that. And then he goes to Kelsey, he goes, all right, we're going up to the suite before we go on. Do you want mufflers for your ears? And she's like, I don't know. He goes, well, just after the show, make sure you put him back here. I go, holy shit, I guess we're coming here afterwards too.
That's
and
great.
He walked us, and me and Kelsey saw the Misfits show with Jerry Only's daughter, son-in-law, and grandkids.
Wow.
In their own private box. So, like, it was just so nice. And then, like, you know, in those private booths, like, it's all catered and stuff. Then they have a couple rows that hang out into the auditorium.
Yeah.
So I'm standing there while sitting there, and all of a sudden from the next booth over, I hear, Dave? And I look, and it's this guy, Tommy Rockstar, who was in Latex Generation. Remember that band, Latex Generation?
Yeah.
he does merch. He did the merch for Eggplant Queens. I'm wearing a jacket that he made for me. And he goes, Dave? I go, Tommy. He goes, oh my God, what are you doing here? He's like, isn't that Jerry Only's box? I go, yeah. He's like, what are you doing in there? I'm like, don't worry about it. And I turn around and Jerry Only's family like look at me and go, who are you? Like, who is this guy?
That's great. You're like, I'm Dave Jemmott, man.
Dave Jemmott.
This is how I rock. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That is awesome. Yeah, man. The whole, like your life in the punk rock scene, it goes by in the blink of an eye, and you're still doing it. And that's the thing I think about with music in general, but definitely with rock and punk rock and all that. I feel like it's the fountain of youth. I feel like we're still teenagers in there to a degree.
That's like with the thing that I'm doing now, that like the Dave Jemmott loves you. The Dave Jemmott loves you.
There you go.
The thing that I'm doing now is like I hadn't created anything in a while, and Frank Fusco, the guy who actually directed the Belmore the Unseen documentary, he was at a party at my house and he said, aren't you like, do you ever miss being in bands? And I go, well, one of the things I miss is I have all these songs in my head that I can't get out. He goes, well, I'll help you with that. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So then we went to go see Beck together. We were having beers before the concert. He goes, just sing into your phone, whatever you have. Because I don't play any instruments. I don't write music. I don't play any instruments. I've always just been the singer, the front man in a band. So I started singing into my phone and sending it to him. And then he would send it back with music of what he thought I wanted. And 99% of the time, it was exactly what I was thinking. Wow. And that's how this project came about. And Frank said to me, he's like, what do you want to call this? I go, I don't know. He's like, you want to call it the Dave Jemmott Experience? I was like, fuck no. He's like just Dave Jemmott. I go, I don't know, man. I don't really. He goes, well, you have those stupid fucking Dave Jemmott stickers you've been hanging out since Eggplant Queens. He goes, that say Dave Jemmott loves you. Let's just call it Dave Jemmott loves you. It looks good on a sticker. It will look good on a T-shirt. Like if we press it on an album, it will look cool. Yes. And the brand's already out there. So it became Dave Jemmott loves you.
That's awesome, man. And to be able to have that kind of chemistry with Frank Fusco on that thing and the songwriting process between you two guys, that's a rare kind of chemistry to have, that where he's, you guys are in tune with each other. And now are you coming up with the melodies, or are you just kind of?
I'm singing, like I'm literally singing the way that the song sounds. Sometimes I would be like it has to go da 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 da, like, and then he would bring it back. And that's how Rap Bastard wrote songs. I would show up with lyrics and say, I want the song to go. I would say to the guitar player Joe, I want the song to go ba 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 da da da, and he'd come back da 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 da. With Eggplant Queens, I would say, I want to go ba da 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 da, and they come back and it was a completely different writing process.
Right.
With Eggplant Queens, they would come up with music, and then I would put lyrics to it. With Rap Bastard and Dave Jemmott Loves You, I have lyrics and a melody in my head, and I would sing it, and then who's ever with me collaborating would make it come out, like would put it together, which is awesome.
It's so cool the way you guys do that and incorporate that, because I'm kind of like you. I don't play any instruments or anything, but I always wrote lyrics and all of that stuff, and I always had a very similar. I never acted on it or did anything with it, and I never had a Frank. But I think that's pretty incredible. So, are you always writing songs like when you're driving or
when I'm driving, when I'm sitting around? Even now, like I sang 14 songs into the phone, and Frank only shot down one, and he said, "I don't think that's as good as the other." And it was a goofy song. Like it was a song called Egg, and it was going to be duck, 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 egg, chicken, 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 egg, turkey, 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 egg, ostrich, egg. That was the whole fucking song. And he's like, I don't think that's like as the caliber as the other ones. And he was correct. But then I started singing more songs. He goes, Dave, we have 13 songs. It's 44 minutes. That's like the perfect album size. He goes, don't send me any more songs. I can't do any. Let's finish these 13. And that's what we did. And now that those 13 are done, and I'm just waiting to, like, if I get some cash together, I want to press it on vinyl. And so it's on streaming on Spotify and
right, yeah.
But I want to actually press it. but I already have more songs in my head that I've been singing into my phone. And Frank's like, don't send them to me yet. Like, we're not done with this one. Let's finish this one. And I have an A&R guy working on this record now.
Nice.
And he every Friday sends me an update of, and we're getting airplay. And then what's his name? Rodney Biggenheimer or whatever played us on Little Steven's Underground Garage.
Oh shit, that's awesome. That's huge.
Played my song Shirley MacLaine. He played on it. And then like, you know, you're getting played this song's in Amarillo, Texas, and Joliet, Illinois, and Fresno, California, and Richmond, Virginia. Like all these places are playing. So people are hearing it, you know, people are playing it. So that's more than it's ever happened with Rap Bastard, Eggplant Queen. So it's like, it's pretty cool. Like, you know, I don't hear people do it. Some of the times they'll give me a heads up. It's playing at this station at this time, so I could stream it, and I'll have my kids like go, you know, check it out.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And like they freak out, you know, because like that's dad like coming through the radio, you know. So it's I'm happy about it. I enjoy it. You know?
I love what you're doing. I love the album. I love the whole thing. Your songwriting, you know, because it goes into different places, and it's got depth to it, but it's also got like the Shirley MacLaine. It leaves you with questions like, does he really know Shirley? What's he talking? Like, you know, those type of things, and then
I sent the Shirley MacLaine video to the Shirley MacLaine fan club, and I haven't heard back yet.
But I love what you're doing, and I love the everything about you. Like you just, like I said, you have a vibe to you that's alluring, that people are interested in. That, you know, as soon as people see you, especially when you're on stage, people are focused and watching you and interested in what you're doing. And with the songwriting stuff, and your just musical style, has that changed or evolved, and has having children change your perspective?
Yeah. Well, one of the things, like with Eggplant Queens, we literally would sing songs about angel dust.
Right.
And like we had a song called Drugs, and it's about all the drugs we would take. When Eggplant Queens reached out to me a couple of times to get back together, I said, listen, I'll do like a one-off show and stuff like that. And they were like, no, we want to like write new songs. I'm like, I got 4 kids.
Right,
like,
right.
I have no interest in singing about angel dust or vinyl vagina anymore. I like, it's so that I haven't been high in 17, 18 years. Like,
Right.
you know, it's like, I like a nice whiskey and a beer, but you know,
Right.
Like that whole thing is, Eggplant Queens, we were playing, you could smell angel dust in the crowd, like, you know.
Yeah.
Angel dust is a fucking hardcore drug, man.
Yeah, that's hard. That'll mess you up. Yeah.
So I told them, I said, I have no interest in that. I said, if you want to do a one-off, they're like, no, we're going to get back together, we're going to write songs. I go, I can't commit to any of that. So with the Dave Jemmott Loves You project, it was like nothing I had done before. Like nothing, maybe a little bit with Rap Bastard. I had some storytelling songs or something like that. But this was like just another outlet of evolving as a songwriter and changing, you know. And I'm very happy with the whole album, you know. And it's so funny because I got a lot of great positive feedback, and then every once in a while, someone just like you can just tell like they're not. It's almost like they're not happy for you. Like they're like almost jealousy, so they just say stupid shit. You know, like, you know, I had a guy, he must have been drunk. He sent me a text message this freaking long explaining how you've been through so much. Why don't you have your real self come out in the songs and everything? And I'm like, did you listen to the record?
Right. Yeah.
Drunk as the Skunk is me talking about waking up still drunk. Only Child is about me I have 4 siblings, but I'm 6 years behind them, and I got into all this trouble when I was a kid, smashing windows. I'm like, that's about me. Like,
Right, yeah.
I'm like all these like Shirley MacLaine. I'm like, I was obsessed with her, and then when she said she got abducted by aliens, I'm like, I want to go hang out with her. Like, these are all like, this is all me. What are you talking about? And then like the song, "How Do You Make Music?" Because like it's literally like I don't know how to make music.
Right,
I have songs, but I can't.
Right.
And like, I'm like, so the guy that said this, I'm like, yeah, what the fuck's your issue, dude, man? Like,
And people like that too. They might not understand that artists have different ways of expressing themselves. That it's not always just A, B, and C and D. It's not just always like what they expect. You're peeling the layers of the onion your own way, and people could figure that out as they go. And also, what I like about that too is you could relate to it as a fan. You're taking the lyrics and the songs and making them your own in a way too. So I think that's good that it's not just kind of spoon fed into, hey, when I grew up I broke my back, and
right.
you're not like singing these songs. Like you're saying it, but you got to figure it out. You're saying it poetically in metaphors and things like that, and like the Shirley MacLaine. People might use Shirley MacLaine as a metaphor, and to whoever they might think of or envision, or it doesn't even have to be a person. Like, what I'm saying? There's so many different avenues when you listen to your music that you can go into, and I just like that.
The A&R guy that's working my record, I wanted him to push the song "Boom Boom Boom" because I think it just like the repetitiveness of it, and I think the video for it is amazing.
It's a great video.
And thanks, man. And then he said, no, I want to push Shirley MacLaine, and which I like that song a lot. But I said, why? He goes, because program directors are going to look at it and see Shirley MacLaine and be like, recognize it and have an immediate connection. They're more likely to give that a listen to than a song called "Boom Boom Boom."
Right.
And I go, okay, you know how to do your job.
If you put "Boom Boom Boom" on the B side when you send it to them, a lot of these labels like to, let's see on the other side. They all said, "What makes your heart boom boom boom?"
What makes your heart boom boom boom? What makes your heart boom boom boom? What makes your heart boom boom boom? What makes your heart boom?
Which is a great song, great video.
That was the first thing that I sent to Frank, and I was parked behind the club that I work in, and it was afterwards. It was at the end of the night, and it's literally like there was a girl at the club that everybody was hitting on, and she wanted no part of it. And in my mind, I was like, "What? Like she doesn't want anything for anyone? Like I wonder what makes her heart boom? Like I wonder what?" And then that turned into, "What makes your heart boom? Is it like does music make your heart boom? Does like your favorite food make it boom? Like?" And that's like the whole thing. And then when Frank started talking about videos, I said, as far as "Boom Boom Boom," I want to be wearing lederhosen. That's the only direction I gave him, is I want to be wearing lederhosen. And he scripted the whole thing.
That's great.
I called up, there's a German restaurant in Belmore called the Oak Chalet. And I'm friends. It's one of my favorite restaurants. And I got in touch with the waiter there because they wear lederhosen. This guy, Derek Farrell, I got in touch with him. I said, "Hey, man, I need to borrow your lederhosen." And he went, "Okay." And he said, and when he dropped it off my house, he goes, "If anybody else in the world called me out of the blue and said, 'Could I borrow your lederhosen?' I would question it. But when Dave Jemmott says, 'Could I borrow your lederhosen?' you just give it to him." And then when he saw the video, he was like, "Those are my lederhosen, yeah!" He like showed it to all the Germans at the German restaurant, and
that's fantastic. Yeah, the lederhosen, and cutting the strings of the puppet, and the puppet runs away, and there's just a lot to it. It's a great video, well done, and the song's great and super catchy, and I love the Shirley MacLaine song. I love all these songs, but I do think that "Boom Boom Boom" has the potential to like literally boom boom out there. Like,
that's what I thought too. I think just you hear it once and it's in your head. It's like an earworm,
And shout out to Jen Snortland for using that as her
yeah.
song.
She asked permission. I was like, absolutely. I love that girl.
Yeah, she's awesome. Shout out to
really
Jen
cool.
Snortland. Yeah.
I met her years and years and years ago. She was coming to Rap Bastard shows. That's how I met her.
Wow, yeah.
She was underage, sneaking into we were playing 21 plus shows, and I don't know how old she was, 17, 16, and these 20-something, 28-year-old dudes are like, "Hey, baby."
That's hilarious. That's great. Yeah, shout out to Jen for that. And yeah, man, dude, you rock, dude. I'm glad to, because you're a couple years older than me, but you look a couple years younger than me, a lot of years younger than me. So you got the fountain of youth going for you. And I really feel like good things are going to happen with this, man. And
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
kudos to you, my brother. I appreciate it. And yeah, just tell everybody where they could find you and follow you, get the music and all that
So
fun stuff.
it's Dave Jemmott Loves You. I have these stickers. Dave Jemmott Loves You. There's an Instagram account, Dave Jemmott Loves You. If you go to that and you DM me, I send you free stickers. I usually post something every day, just visually tying into one of my songs. And these stickers, people have been asking me to mail them to them all around the country and actually around the world. And then they take pictures and send it to me. So I'll post like meanwhile in Miami, meanwhile in Laguna Beach, meanwhile in London, meanwhile in Wisconsin. And it's really cool. And when people take them and they slap the stickers up all over the place, and
That's
sometimes
huge.
people will say, I was in Boston and I saw a Dave Jemmott Loves You sticker on a stop sign. They'll
Right.
take a picture and send it to me. So if you go to Instagram for Dave Jemmott Loves You, that's fine. We're also on Bandcamp, on iTunes, and Spotify.
Awesome. Dave, thanks so much for doing this. Everyone's got to check him out. I'm going to play a lot of the videos in this interview and a lot of the stuff too. So,
I
dude,
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
you rock, man. Thank you, Dave Jemmott. Everybody, check him out.
Thank you, everyone.